Hey, what is up, guys? Bluntcuts here. This is a Watcher Roams video. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. I do appreciate it. I want to talk to you about GvG defenses today. We've got 1 week of Season 5 under our belt, and I'm going to be honest with you, not a big fan. Not a big fan of the new map. Not a big fan of the Garden Guard. I haven't seen him yet, but I've seen some videos. He's going to wreck everything, and all of a sudden it's going to be who gets lucky and pulls enough fragments to summon the Garnet Guard, and then that team, whoever has more of them, is going to be at a massive advantage over everybody else. We're going to start building defenses that I guess are going to counter that. Is going to be the plan. I don't know. I think piercers are going to become the meta because of their extended range. They should be able to outrange him and basically make him focus on a tank. I think that's what's going to happen, but I'm not going to comment any further on that. I'm not going to get into specifics about that until we have more info. I unfortunately got no fragments. I've still got 5 on my Forerunner account, so I can't make a video testing him at this point. I know there's some other ones out there. I'm looking forward to it. Maybe one of my guildmates will get it, and they'll be able to let me hop on their account. But I do want to talk about the defenses that I saw in this past week, the ones that I thought, well, not even just that I thought, the ones that gave my guild the most trouble, the ones that did seem to perform the best. I'm going to get into it. Let's get over to the map. All right, guys, this is actually going to be a relatively quick video because there was kind of a meta that I saw almost immediately, not just in my first match, but also in my second match, which was against lower opponents. The first match was against Awakened Chaos, which I unfortunately was not able to record my attacks for that one, and I kind of did them at the last minute, and I just didn't have time to get that done. Real life stuff kind of got in the way, but there was a very clear pattern of the defenses that performed well. Almost all of them were on the left-hand side of the map. There are a couple on the right-hand side. I'll talk about that in a second, but I want to tell you about the meta that I saw emerging on the left-hand side defenses. So this is what we saw most commonly. And I'm not saying that this team in particular, although I do think that the team that I'm putting forth right here is actually pretty decent and pretty strong. I'm not saying that this is the team that you should be using necessarily, but it is a team that that did do some work that I saw over the weekend. So it's certainly something to keep in mind. But I'm going to talk generally speaking about where you want to deploy the different unit types in here, and talk to you about how that can cause problems for the attacker. So first things first, your primary tank is going to go in the spot where Regulus is right now. You can face him up, you can face him down, left, right, whatever you want to do. I guess really up or down is really what you want to do. You don't want to face him left or right. That would be dumb. We don't want to be dumb. So that is the primary spot right there. Having a tank placed in that spot is going to protect anybody that's placed to the left or to the right or down. Well, not all the way to the right, but down and to the right. So on this tile right here where I'm holding Lily. So that is kind of the primary tank spot that I saw that was really successful. The other thing that I saw pretty frequently was having another unit down below Regulus. Now, this could be a tanky fighter. This could be another tank. Really, it varied, but really all it needs to be is somebody who is not going to get killed immediately by uncommon destroyers or by bookkeepers. That is the idea in having somebody that has just a little bit of durability to put in there. So that is what I would do. The other thing I saw, AoE champion right there, facing up. Could be a Boreas, could be even a Comet, or really anybody that does AoE damage. Ingrid, much I'm sure everybody's chagrin, was quite powerful in this spot. She can reach this both as in her solar mode or single target, or excuse me, her AoE mode very clearly. She can hit it from here, but she could also hit the tile right in front of Regulus with her stellar mode as well, the single target mode. So she was doing some work and was in several of the tougher defenses that got a lot of wins over the weekend. Next up, healer, right down here in kind of this safe spot that I did cover when I did my range testing. This spot, as long as you've got units deployed anywhere around them, this is going to be the last spot that gets targeted by any range damage dealers. She's going to be safe from bombs in this spot. And she has full coverage of everybody that is going to be deployed in this kind of stack that we've got going on here. And then finally, you got your Mari over here. You don't need to use a a CC champion here. I did see a bunch of CC champions in use here, but I also did see a Hatsut was used very effectively in this spot, because Hatsut will not use her ultimate until there are units that make it onto the tile that Regulus is at. So when Regulus's block is all eaten up, or if he dies, something like that, Hatsut's going to save the ultimate until that happens, meaning that she's almost certainly going to wipe out everybody that travels onto that tile, which was very effective in one of the defenses that I did see. But CC champions are great here as well. Obviously, freeze or stuns or anything like that that you can bring to the table. Slows in this spot is just going to further aggravate the defenders and give your AoE champion in the spot where Ingrid is a lot more time to take that stuff out. So the nice thing about this, there is no tile with a hero that's deployed here that can be hit in this initial deployment lane on the bottom right hand side. So like if we had somebody say right here where Mari is, that is vulnerable to being sniped by archers or by bookkeepers. That's not the case here. You stick Mari over here. Constance's tile is not going to get hit. Nobody's going to be able to hit Ingrid or anything like that, meaning that everybody's going to path up here, and they're all going to stick onto Regulus initially. So you're going to have to either go through or over Regulus. I think if you don't have a CC champion, you are more vulnerable to air, but you're also, by bringing a CC champion, you're also going to be having just less damage in the comp as well. So you're more in danger of being overrun. So I think you're going to be more reliant on a strong AoE damage dealer. The other thing that I did see that was kind of interesting was if you do want to avoid taking hits from the splash damage folks, from the bookkeepers and from the uncommon destroyers, Constance has this kind of unique ability to sit right here and then hit literally everybody with her invigoration, which is or inspiration, excuse me. So that is just awesome. I mean, Constance can avoid taking direct hits. She can still tank if somebody does make it past Regulus, and she's going to keep everything in front of her, meaning that Ingrid or whoever else you have in this spot is still going to be able to hit them, and she's going to be able to provide just heals and inspiration to everybody in this little cluster that you've got on the left-hand side. So that is what I saw, and that is my recommendation to you. If you are going to build something like this, you want to use these deployment spots. It would really be the one where Constance is, this spot for an AoE damage dealer, got a tank up there, and then CC down there, and your healer is going to be safe and comfy in this bottom tile all the way to the bottom there. So again, you can very easily move somebody over here. You could also potentially, if you do have like a Ymir or another anti-air fighter that you're worried about getting popped by splash damage, you could scrap the Constance, and you could put a Ymir or an Arrogance or something like that over here and keep them out of the range. You could even have them facing upwards, and then when they use their ultimate, they're going to be able to hit the tile in front of Regulus. They'll also be kind of backup to tank anything that does slip by as far as a swarm's concerned or anything like that. And when I first saw this, I thought it was going to be very easily swarmed, built properly, and with solid units in a developed account. Very hard to do. Very hard to push past it. Double tank or even just double tanky units, a tank and a tanky fighter, with this kind of clear shot from the AoE damage dealer right here, as well as some CC on the left hand side, was very nice, very, very nice. So I would definitely recommend that. I'll be back in a second. I'm going to talk about right side teams. All right, let's talk about right side defenses here. Now, I did not see anywhere near as many of these that were dominant. And that was kind of a surprise to me, honestly, because I thought that the right side, with the close proximity to the spawn point, was going to make it much more difficult for people to effectively attack them. It did not seem to be the case in week one, at least. Maybe that changes over time as people get a little bit more familiar with the left side defenses. Although right now, I don't think that there's a lot of really good options to attack those left side defenses. So I'm not sure that that's going to be the case. But what I did see was a couple of decent defenses that did take advantage of the right-hand side. I'm going to show you where they deployed, and I'm going to talk to you about exactly why they were powerful and effective. So just like with the left side defenses, I'm going to go through, talk to you about where to deploy the different types of units, and try to give you some ideas about why you're deploying them in these spots, talk about where they may be vulnerable, and some things that you might want to avoid when you are setting up your defense. So as far as the tank's concerned, where Broke here is right now, that is the tank spot. That is where you're going to want to deploy your tank. That is going to give you protection, not just for the surrounding tiles immediately around him, but also for this tile down here. And if you did want to deploy somebody down here, that is an option as well. So you've got a few options as far as where you can deploy on this side. What we did commonly see was either a long-range unit, either here where Pelagios is, or potentially down here where we've got Boreas. Those were two options. Now, the downside of this, and why I think you probably want to avoid deploying in the spot where Boreas is right now, is that you need essentially somebody with massive range in order to do it. And I think that really limits you primarily to Ajax. Ajax is great in this spot because he is going to be able to cover the tile in front of Broke here when he is deployed there. There's not really a lot of units that do fall into that category, though. I think maybe you could do a Comet, because if you do have him A3+, his range expands during the ultimate, and that might work. You could probably do an AI or something like that in that spot. That's a potential. But more commonly, what we did see instead was a second damage dealer deployed right here. They can safely hit the units that are in front of Broke here. They're also not going to take splash damage from the bookkeepers in this spot, so that is typically what we saw there. Next up, we saw a healer in the spot where Carnelian was just placed up here, facing downwards, so they can cover the Boreas tile as well as the tank tile. You're not going to be able to fit heals onto the unit in this platform where Pelagios is. Reason being that it's just, I guess you could potentially, if you use like somebody with like an Elo in range, that would potentially work. You could face Elo to the right. Ellen would cover the two tiles behind her, as well as two tiles in front, or one tile, excuse me, behind her, and then two tiles in front on the right-hand side. So that would potentially work. But what you need to make sure of when you do this is you want to make sure that the unit that is in Carnelian's spot, the healer, is built somewhat tanky. And what I found is that about 30k HP is going to be enough to kind of guard against the bookkeepers. I think it's going to help guard against the Garnet guards when we do start seeing them more frequently. Although, again, I'm not going to comment directly on those and the viability of these defenses versus Garnet guards, because I think that's going to change the way that we structure this. I think it's going to move to a much more kind of piercer-heavy meta at that point, at least as far as right-side defenses are concerned, because the extra range on the piercers is going to allow them to kind of like the platform units to outrange the Garnet guards, and you can place a tank probably still in the same spot where Brokir is right now. I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening, but this general structure is what we saw for the most part. The other thing that we saw was a second unit down here, whether that be you could have a Constance there, you could have a tanky fighter, a la like an Aracha built tanky, or like a Valderon or something like that. I did see somebody with a Volca, which mixed results. I think it's going to depend. If you do have Carnelian here and you can provide unkillable to somebody in this spot, then that changes the game a little bit. That opens up your options quite a bit, because you don't need them to survive long-term against something there. You just need them to survive long enough to kill the units that might be attacking them, which in this case would be the Uncommon Destroyers and the Bookkeepers. One thing to keep in mind with the Uncommon Destroyers, their splash damage only hits ground units. So a Uncommon Destroyer standing in front of Brokir and slapping him is not going to hit Carnelian. It's not going to hit Boreas. It's certainly not going to hit Pelagios, because Pelagios outranges it regardless, but that is something to keep in mind. The other thing that we did see, and this would probably be instead of a Brokir, I think you would still need another ground tile unit to be sitting behind Brokir to be doing that. Instead of Boreas, you probably would have a second ground tile unit behind Brokir in this case, but we did see some Valkyras sitting in this spot, and reason being that that spot is vulnerable to bombs. However, if you've got enough damage there, it's going to be very hard for a bombing run to get in there, especially with a unit like a Pelagios sitting up here at top, being able to attack the bombing run and CC the bombing run almost immediately. Now, what you could do alternately is you could put somebody in the Boreas spot right here, but you'd need to build them tanky enough that they wouldn't get sniped by the rare archers and the epic mages and I think even some healers are able to hit that spot. From what somebody told me, I haven't tested that personally, but I did test the rare archers and the epic mages, and both of them can hit that spot. Although it's a very brief hit, so they just need to be tanky enough to take a couple hits and not die. Again, Carnelian really helps out in that spot because she's going to be able to provide unkillable to the units that she covers, but you're going to want to be very, very careful there. I think you're going to need at least 30k HP on that spot. I think this is ideal for like a CC champion. If you've got Theowin or like a Mari or something like that you want to drop into that spot, I think this is an excellent spot for them because you can build them tanky without really sacrificing damage because you're not really worried about the damage that they do. So that is certainly an option, but you're going to have to figure that out. Certainly, I don't think that this spot where I have Aracha right now is really ideal for a ground-based fighter. I think you could work it, you can play around with it, but I think the ideal spot is really going to be where Aracha is right now, either for a second tank or a Constance where you've got tankiness and heals that's going to help out your primary healer while also providing inspiration to your group. And then structuring something like this, you could potentially do this and then also have another damage unit over here as well if you didn't want to deploy on that kind of top tile in the upper right hand corner. So that is an option as well. Now this is all going to get shaken up, as I've said before, once the Garnet Guard is kind of more accessible to a lot of folks. Once people start having that unit on their account, everything is going to change. And so this is really just a preemptive, probably first like 2 to 4 weeks of Season 5. This is going to be effective. I don't think there's going to be enough Garnet Guards to take out all of these defenses, so this is probably going to be your best bet. After that, I think we're going to have to kind of go back to the drawing board and see how we can kind of work around the Garnet Guard's range, which is large, but not as large as what we can get with heroes, particularly when we use them in when we use Piercer comps. So we'll have to see how that goes. I mean, one thing that I didn't really see, but I think that you could potentially do as well. Oops, I didn't mean to take Boreas out of there. Let's just pop Boreas up here. But one thing that you could also do here is, particularly if you have a Piercer, you can put a Piercer here, and they're going to get the extended range to be able to. Well, they won't get in front of Brokir, but they will be able to kind of hit anything that kind of starts to pass Brokir, and so this is going to protect them as well. So if you've got like a unit whose range expands during the ultimate, which most of these ground-based heroes, as far as I know, all of them that have this particular range where you've got kind of the adjacent tiles in front and to the side of them, plus a couple extra tiles in the middle as their range. All of these missing side tiles, they are filled in during the ultimate, meaning that they'll be able to hit the units in front of Brokir when the ultimate is active. Again, it's going to leave you vulnerable to Swarm, but that is, you need heavier CC. So maybe what you do in this case is you've got a tanky Mari right here, and then that's how you structure it, potentially. But just some thoughts. We did see some effectiveness from these defenses, but most of the defenses that were really effective were on the left-hand side, structured like the one that I showed you before. Again, I'm not suggesting to use these specific heroes. What I am suggesting to you is find units that fill the roles that I described in this video and try to plug them in and see if you can't make something work from that. I know that we are, we're about a day away from when you're going to need to deploy your defenses for week 2. So I hope this helps some folks out, and I do appreciate all of you tuning in. Please do like and subscribe if you did enjoy the video. I'll catch you all next time.